Welcome to the Meria Show, the internet's original podcast. Since the year 2000, always ahead of the curve, always on your side. A true warrior for truth and justice, Meria and her guests leave nothing out, and no one is off limits. There is only one truth, the rest is lies. Sit back, enjoy the education with a true daughter of Mother Earth. Sharp New York wit, spiritual knowing, and a very dry sense of humor, Meria will dissect the news and lies to make it all palatable. Education is power. Meria delivers rapid-fire truth like no one else can. Here she is, the mouth that roars, the legendary Meria Heller.
Good morning, world. Meria here, alive and kicking. Welcome to Stars Are Us, the monthly astrology for October of 2017, with my excellent co-host, of course, Joe Anthony of planetswithin.com. And I can tell you, it's already been a pretty wild month, and we're only on the second day. So, God knows what this month's got in store for us. Is this the October surprise?
Yeah, it might as well be. As I wrote in my newsletter, we're going to need to find balance. This is just the energy being amped up and ramped up, and it's just going to intensify from this point forward. And we'll talk about that, of course, in a little bit with Jupiter going into Scorpio.
Right.
And so we'll see a whole lot more of this nonsense and chaos, and which seems like the world is falling apart, which it really is, but it needs to, because it's all built on lies anyway.
Right, exactly. Well, a lot of it is getting exposed, that's for sure. You look at what's been going on. I mean, just since the last time we talked, 3 major hurricanes hitting the United States and Puerto Rico, a U.S. territory. And then on top of that, you got the shootout in Las Vegas, and a lot of people dying. Yesterday Monty Hall died, but he was 96. But, I also read that Tom Petty died, and he was 66.
Well, these eclipses, especially in Leo, like I mentioned when we did our show in August, that usually represents famous people. That represents royalty, the sign of Leo. And it's not uncommon to see very popular people crossing over in that cycle. When that cycle hits, it's like a doorway for people to transition, because we're multidimensional beings, and we're starting to realize this. And so when these eclipses happen, they open up these doorways for those that no longer belong here. And so that doesn't, we all have to go, no matter who you are. Right. But the interesting part is some of these deaths, of course, are natural causes or illness or something along those lines. But I mean, the online community is so deep into speculation now that they're saying that some of these deaths are intentional to divert attention from the hot topics that are going on around the world, and especially in Washington, and especially with the financial system. Anything to do with the scandals, that pedophilia thing is all somehow disappeared now. I mean, it's a constant game of chess when you think about it on a larger scale.
Right, but it seems like every morning I wake up and there's another giant story facing me in the face.
Right. And there's a whole team of people out there. I don't know who they're exactly working for, whether it's the NSA, the Vatican, Israel, that basically have this coordinated effort to put news out to scare people, to divert attention, and it's ongoing. And this is not speculation, as you know, and your listeners know. This has been proven.
Absolutely.
That the CIA and all these, they put out all these stories to get your attention, to get you riled up, to get you to separate and divide.
Well, and also let's not leave out the fear they want to whip up. Do you know what I mean? Do people assume they'll be afraid to go out in public?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. And so what you really have is the collapsing of the old guard. And it's trying to save its own behind, okay? Because people around the world are starting to see through the BS. through the lies, through the puppets.
And they're seeing it all over the world. I don't know if you caught what happened between Catalonia and Spain, but Spain sent in 16,000 cops to suppress the vote in Catalonia, and they beat the people, bloodied them up. I mean, they went in there like savages to trying to steal the ballot boxes, stop them from voting. They ended up voting anyway, and 90% of them voted to break away from Spain. But you look at this is happening like all around the world. And what I'm finding, Joe, and I'm sure you are too, is a lot of my students or clients are having a very hard time staying grounded.
Oh, absolutely. Again, these waves of energy that come in are just, kind of slapping us upside the head and are forcing us to change. And I'm seeing a lot of that with friends. I'm seeing that the same with clients who are calling me in a panic. They don't quite understand what's actually happening. We have to kind of coach them through it. But this is, and yes, this is happening all over the world. Since 2008, this was the turning point when Pluto went into Capricorn, and of course the Mayan prediction of 2012, that was the threshold. We crossed over it. There was no turning back after that. The photon alignment and the astrology. And basically, it's a transition period from 2008, I would say, all the way till about 2030. Astrologically speaking, we're with the most intense to come. And what I mean by that is see how things are falling apart in countries and individuals and so on. And we're going to only have more of that. And I think it's going to be ramped up even more when the ET contact actually is made, or it's going to be so out there that people will absolutely just lose their marbles in that, oh my God, the world is coming to an end. We're being taken over by the planet. I mean, it could come to that silly scenario at some point. And I'll say that somewhere around 2023, 2024. We still got a ways to go. But first, we have to get through the financial situation that we find ourselves in. And that is what I mean by, the worst is yet to come. And I don't mean to be negative here. I'm very much a realist, and I'm sure you are too.
Oh,
and many of your listeners are.
Right, absolutely. Absolutely. I've been recommending that people either listen to the interview I did with Carl Callanan or get the book, The 9 Waves of Creation. Because what they don't understand is the wave we've been living in has been the wave of duality. And duality's on its way out. But look at the fight it's putting up at the last minute. Everything from racism to hatred to people just going psycho, arguing about football and whether they take a knee or not. You can see how the duality is struggling to stay alive.
Right, exactly. On this physical plane, in these physical suits, there is the duality because our perception is limited. But because the energy is intensifying and heating up and changing our DNA and our perception, we're beginning to see beyond the physical, which is that duality you just mentioned.
Right.
And we're seeing like the fourth dimension, fifth dimension, which is not something that's taught. Let's face it, it's not taught in school. It's not really looked upon as legitimate, or but it exists.
Right.
And so most people feel like they're losing their sense of reality or their balance or their focus. That's what it feels like.
That's why I put up a post, Catch the Wave. Because people that are alert and aware and spiritually aware, they're already past duality. So they already caught the wave. But people have to understand the general download for this planet is fear. And as long as you're attuned to this fear download, that's what your brain is getting pumped in. So without true spirituality, I don't see how anybody can get through this.
Well, unfortunately, nature and these cycles have a way of cleansing. And this happens in nature all the time, death and rebirth, lightning storms, hurricanes, whatever. And I'm talking about natural ones, not man-made ones.
Right. I don't think the ones we saw were natural at all.
No, I don't think so either. The evidence shows overwhelmingly that there was all kinds of pulsing radar that were going off simultaneously. When you see those videos, where a whole region of the country is pulsating all at once. I mean,
Right.
come on,
I've seen
folks.
them. I've seen them all. But here's the problem. The problem is, I was discussing this with one of my students this morning. The problem is, she says, well, what do you do? What do you do if people don't do the research or this and that? What do you tell them? I said to her, it's very easy. Just tell them to listen to my show. I mean, how much easier can I make it for people? Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
But, there's so much ignorance out there and so much lies and disinformation on social media that people are really going crazy. I don't know how else to describe it, Joe. It's like an insanity. And then you look at that shooting in Vegas, and I saw a terrorism expert say that this guy totally broke the mold of mass shooters. They never would have seen it coming from somebody 64 years old and white. He had a peaceful life. He had money in the bank. He didn't make any political posts. But I'm sure they're going to change all that as they make up the backstory like they usually do.
Well, again, we don't know for sure, and I haven't really looked into it because I haven't had the time, to be honest with you. I mean, I just quickly glanced over the story, but, every one of these situations smells, really bad of false flag, mind control, MK Ultra. Who the hell knows?
Right.
10, 15 years ago, you'd say, oh, you're a bunch of conspiracy nuts. But the evidence just keeps coming out.
And it's always the same. I mean, the story changed about 20 times just in the emails collection that I had this morning. And I tell people, and this is the problem, Joe. I tried to tell this to one of my friends this morning. I said, you have to understand that people in the so-called alternative media are immediately going to say, this never happened. It was all fake. It was a fake movie. Nobody got hurt. And people just don't understand. A false flag doesn't mean that nobody was killed. It just means it was planned that way. They don't give a shit how many of us they kill to get their agenda going or distraction. And then I'm thinking to myself, I wonder how much all this hatred that Trump and division he's created in this country, if this guy's mind didn't just snap.
Well, I had this conversation with somebody else last week about Trump. And again, this individual, who has played both sides of the fence, in bed with the Rothschilds, in bed with the bankers, and then, of course, in bed with the military-industrial complex. He finds himself in a very precarious position where the good guys in the military are going, we need to take our country back and we need to kick out the bankers that are destroying our political system. Are you with us? So he gives them lip service and he goes, yeah. On the other hand, the people that put him in power and the ones that are really watching him are probably threatening him, saying, don't you dare go in that direction or do this or do that. And there's a lot of heavy speculation online about him being blackmailed right now by these bankers. Now, again, I don't know. It's purely speculation. But he finds himself in a very difficult situation because he's being pulled in many different directions. Again, I don't know if it's true.
I know. Well, I did read a little piece this morning on technocracy.com. I didn't get to finish the whole thing yet because I had way too much news to deliver as it was. That Steve Bannon is holding meetings with Kissinger.
Oh, that's scary.
Right. So when you look at how they're all involved and what we get is theater, Bannon, he got rid of Bannon and whatnot. But, and then Bannon, defending Roy Moore, of all people, that lunatic in Alabama. It's all a big show. They still, like David Icke would say, no matter who you vote for, the government always gets in. Yeah,
well, from some of the sources that I've read, what's basically happening is the Chinese yuan is going to be the world reserve currency. And it appears to be, from a fabulous researcher, James Corbett, from the Corbett Report. Love the guy. He is probably the best, one of my top people that I really value his input and his information. she shows you the evidence that it's still the same bankers that are trying to push this new currency on the world. Mm-hmm. And so you gotta see through the illusion that they know that the dollar is collapsing around the world, and they know their puppets are being revealed left and right, and that they are trying to institute this new system, but yet there seems to be someone or something resisting, or playing the opposition, whether it's Russia, whether it's these other countries. I don't know for sure.
Right.
We're talking about a chess game here.
Right.
And so, again, I try and look at the big picture, not so much as the small players and the puppets. And this is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a real battle for the control of not just the United States, because they give it. I listened to Catherine Austin Fitts, which you've had on your show many times,
right,
who is a fabulous researcher, who basically, the insiders have been telling her since 1990s, they have been pulling out, they was organized to pull out all of the resources out of this country and collapse it.
Well,
the financial system.
Well,
okay?
Much to everybody's shock, including my own, when I last interviewed Jim Fetzer on our Roaring Truth, he basically said the same thing, that these people are destroying our country from the inside out. I mean, he was furious. But 20
right.
years ago, when I covered that with Robert Galen Ross, everybody thought I was crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, hey, sometimes it might just be a lunatic you're looking for. I always think of that song.
Right.
You may say
Exactly.
I'm crazy, but it just might be a lunatic you're looking for. So let me ask you this. I was reading over what you sent me for the astrology for this month. And you talk about Scorpio and water. And I was wondering if that is a portent of more hurricanes or more water damages.
It's very possible. Scorpio's energy is a little different than, say, Cancer or Pisces. Mm-hmm. There's an intensity that goes along with the sign of Scorpio. So Scorpio could cause tornadoes, could cause hurricanes involving, water. It could be large bodies of water that are contaminated, like an oil spill of some kind. Mm-hmm. It could be major disasters along water or coastlines or something along those lines. It's a very intense alignment. And Jupiter, for those of you, we started talking about it, Jupiter goes into Scorpio on October the 10th and stays there for about around the same time next year in 2018 or November. But this is a transformation from deep within. So as you were saying about the destruction from deep within the United States, yes, but now we have a deeper layer of discovery. So watch and see over the next year how we discover all these satanic, sick rituals that are going to come out, the financial system and the lies that have been created around it, even more surprising than we already have. I mean, nothing surprises me anymore, but there could be another layer to this discovery that takes place and starts connecting more dots, like Catherine Austin Fitts was doing on another show. She was incredible in connecting the dots. Mm-hmm. This company working with this company and that company, and then burying the money here. And I mean, it was just incredible. That's the kind of depth that Jupiter and Scorpio will have.
Right.
And so look for more shootings. Anything that to do with Scorpio is powerful transformation, but the sign of Scorpio also represents death and rebirth. So it's not a surprise to me that we're very close to Jupiter going into Scorpio, and all of a sudden we have a shooting in Vegas.
Right.
Okay. So we'll see more of that nonsense. We'll see more of the psychological psychosis that's going to continue to happen in the year ahead as the changes continue to be implemented. And so from this point forward, it's just an incredible acceleration, especially into 2018, when the planet Uranus, the planet that represents innovative change, sudden movements, explosions, and so on, goes into the sign of Taurus, the sign of money and values. So between these two in 2018, I think we are going to have some major disruption in the financial system, Wall Street, resources, anything to do with money or investments, coin, silver, I think this will be the time because everything symbolically is showing major change in 2018.
Right.
So, we've made these predictions before as astrologers, but somehow the powers that shouldn't be have suppressed them. They've literally gone around, or whoever's helping out, I don't know, has been able to divert or avoid total disaster. In other words, causing major rifts of negative fear energy into the environment.
Right. Well, with what you said about Scorpio, I'm thinking about something I reported on my news show, is that Rex Tillerson is trying to have a diplomatic channel with North Korea, and Trump tweeted to him basically, save your breath, save your energy. Talking to them's a waste of time. We know what we have to do. So, do you think that his October surprise will be nuking North Korea?
It's possible. But, North Korea, again, is another one that of those plays that has been pulled out of the playbook by these powers that shouldn't be. And I found out that the same people, the Rothschilds and the big banks and the corporations, have been doing underhanded deals with North Korea. Mm-hmm. And that they basically are setting up this dictator to somehow be in the picture, one way or another. Remember, they want conflict. And they needed another boogeyman. Mm-hmm. Can't go to Libya anymore. We can't go to Iran. We can't go to, Iraq. And so we need a new boogeyman. The military-industrial complex loves this stuff. So what are they doing? They're pressuring Trump to make, these speeches about North Korea. Once again, the puppet is being pulled in many directions. Mm-hmm. And so, it's hard to say. I've read things where the ET population that's here would not allow another third world war. Again, I don't know if it's true or not. I'm just putting it out there. Mm-hmm. Everything that they have been trying to do to create destruction and disasters has been met with opposition or being blocked in some way. So, I'm going to say, no, I don't think we're going to have a war with North Korea. And I've been saying this now for several years, that we're not going to have a World War III. I don't feel it. I don't see it. I don't sense it. I think it's going to be some sort of destruction psychologically. It's a psychological game that's being played. And people are either falling for it because it's very easy right now to go, oh, my God, I don't know where I'm going, what I'm doing. The world is coming to an end. The world's going crazy. But in reality, it's more the energy's coming in and it's shifting you, but these people are playing the psychological game to keep you in that third dimension or that fear factor, so you'll never be able to see the bigger picture.
All right.
So that's my take on it, Maria.
Well, hey, it's as good a take as any. So when people ask me that, I just tell them, the facts I know environmentally. All right. They're saying I think they said today, by 2050, there'll be more plastic in the ocean than fish. And they said there's already more plastic microparticles in the ocean than there are stars in our galaxy.
Right.
So, you got to look at the human effect of polluting their own web of life and eradicating themselves from the planet. It's like mass suicide.
Well, you know as well as I do, and some of your listeners know, that this planet appears to be controlled by beings or not very benevolent and don't really care about us.
Right.
And so does that surprise anybody? How do you control the population? You do it through money. And then these are the side effects of money.
Right.
Creating products that have no freaking sense of value or use outside of,
Right. Well, the two big control factors on the planet is religion and politics. Look at how these religious people are so violent that now they want to take guns to church. They want to, if Trump gets impeached, the Christian right said they're going to go out killing people, starting a civil war. And I'm looking at all this craziness, and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, as far as Trump goes, I don't see him being impeached. He may just resign.
Can't be
because
soon
he
enough.
may just say, what the hell did I get myself into over here?
Well, I
And
think that this is the month that some other astrologers have said that he could end up getting assassinated. And I know they made an attempt on Mad Dog Mattis when he landed or tried to land in Afghanistan this week.
Mhm.
So, that's not unbelievable to me because this guy has now made enemies all over the world.
Well, again, most leaders around the world know who he represents. Okay, it's just we tend to look at leaders as that they're independent and they're doing what they want. Now, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
Everything is scripted. Everything is planned, and he is doing. Like I said, he's walking that fine line. He's walking on that fence between the military-industrial complex and the good guys in there versus his banker buddies.
Right.
And so he's got to walk this fine line.
Right.
And so I think the stress is going to get to him. I think he's literally been neutered.
I thought to myself today, I even asked this old guy at the gym, we were watching the news, and I said to him, how happy do you think Donald Trump is that he's president?
No.
I mean, look at what's happened just in the 8 months he's been in office. Do you know what I'm saying? Anything that could go wrong has gone wrong, and it continues to. It's like Fubar City.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, let's get back to the astrology for October so we could kind of try to prepare. You say that we have a full moon in Aries on the 5th, which is Thursday.
Right, and this one again also could represent conflict because it's Aries. Aries is all about conflict, inner conflict, outer conflict, however you want. I mean, this is associated with Mars, the god of war. And so at first we'll feel it with our relationships, the current people in our lives, because it's the Libra sun versus the Aries moon. And so there's always this tension within us with others. So there could be conflict, there could be, annoyances. And there's always this self-reflection when the moon is in Aries. Why am I doing this? My life's not going anywhere. What do I want to do? And so there's this built-in sort of mentality when there's a full moon in Aries. Now, the positive side of this is it could make us, energize us. And then we're running around and we're doing a lot. We're accomplishing what we want and going to the gym to exercise and using the energy in a productive way. Mm-hmm. And so, but again, this Aries archetype also represents conflict, war, all of that nonsense, which I do not believe is going to happen on a large scale. But there could be small skirmishes,
Well,
another bombing, another,
I guess it'll
stupid.
depend on how the Russian investigation goes. To what else they'll need to pull off for a distraction.
I'm not too worried about that, because, again, on a larger scale, the rest of the world is kind of laughing at us and the silliness of our politics.
I'm surprised we haven't gotten hit, but maybe we have. You think about our embassy in Cuba, where we're pulling all our people out because they've gotten some kind of sonic attack that's made them all sick. And I look at the storms and stuff. And even this lunatic, in Las Vegas, at one point, even ISIS said, try to claim it. Okay. So It's like, oh my God.
Well, as I said in the newsletter, Maria, this is a deep transformational month. And it's an opportunity to purge all kinds of beliefs, dynamic, understandings, anything to do with life. We're going to begin to question it as we begin the month. And then it intensifies when Jupiter goes into Scorpio. So nothing would surprise me about all these changes that are taking place around the world.
Right. And, so let me ask you, this full moon, is it also the same as the harvest moon? Yes,
it is a harvest moon. It's the first full moon after the eclipse. And so what you have here is that this is a culmination or a completion cycle. Okay, if you've done the hard work, you've done everything you need to do, this is where you reap the rewards. Think about farming. Mm-hmm. You plant the seeds in the spring, you go through the summer, and then in the fall you pick your crops. And it's the same mindset. It's the same thing. It's whatever you put in, this is you reap what you sow. And that's what this is all about.
Right.
And so,
or as my father used to say, you rip what you sow.
yeah, exactly.
I think he lost some in the translation from Italian to English, but it's pretty much the same thing if you think about it.
Oh yeah.
So Jupiter's going to move into Scorpio on the 10th, but at the same time, isn't the Sun in Libra right now?
Yeah. As we go in the show, the Sun is in Libra, so we're trying to find balance. This is when the Sun is actually on the Earth at equal parts. It's equal day, equal nights. Mm-hmm. And so when this happens, we are definitely looking for balance in our lives, or fairness, or partnerships, anything to do with balance. And so this is what we're trying to do right now with the Sun going through Libra. But Libra has a dark side as well. It could basically become a little bit pessimistic and negative. It could overanalyze and be judgmental. It could, in the ancient world, be a conflict, because Venus used to be also associated with conflict and war. But it's an inner conflict. And on a larger scale, of course, it could be, conflict outside on a larger platform. But this is really about finding inner peace. Mm-hmm. And so, with all this chaotic energy in the air, the theme is to find balance, find your center, find something, and enjoy the beauty, because that's where you get that relaxing, tranquil feeling. It's funny because the other day I'm driving, and on the back of this guy's car, it said, "Art Heals." And I said to myself, oh, my God, because I don't know if I told you, I actually purchased an art gallery here in Sedona. And I'm in the art business, and here is this sign, right in front of me that says "Art Heals."
Well, it was a sign to you to show you're in the right direction.
Exactly. And but with the Sun in Libra, anything to do with the beauty and the colors and the appreciation of life comes forth. And especially when Venus goes into Libra this month, it gets amped up even more.
Right. Well, that's why so many people love this season, because they look forward to the changing colors of the leaves on the trees.
Right.
But I don't think they make that. Yeah, I don't think they make that connection. Joe, we're going to take a short break. When we get back, we're going to talk about Venus and what will she wreak havoc this month, or will it be a nice thing? So stay with us. Joe and I will be right back. Hi, Meria here, and I have a message. Due to the pressure of the times we're living in, I'm calling on all students and millennials to get the education they need to fight the fascism taking over our world. I've made a special subscription offer for students and for seniors on a limited budget. For just $9.99 a month, you can subscribe and get that education. Over 500 hours of real education that's necessary to understand the world, the problems, and the solutions. Remember, knowledge is power. Together you can change the world, but to do so, you must be informed of what's really going on and have real facts to support you in your endeavors. It's time for all the grandmothers to take a stand and teach the younger generation what their life could be and how to get there. Help me help you. One person cannot do it alone, and the guidance you seek is right here at www.meria.net, meria.net. Your generation is the generation we've been waiting for, so let me help you. Thanks for listening. Hi, this is Maria Heller. If you're enjoying this show, please consider listening to the rest of it, along with hundreds of other hours of education, by a small subscription on my site. Get over to meria.net, meria.net. You are the only thing that supports this show. There's no corporate control, and there's plenty of education on site. So please consider either a subscription or a donation to keep the work going. There are too many alternative voices out there that are being silenced because of lack of support. So if you don't want MSM to be the only mind-controlling news out there, please consider supporting the people that support you, and help us all save something for the future for our children. Thank you so much.